All right. Hopefully the audio kicks in. So again, you're welcome to stay on here in case you have any questions about the test while it's going on. Work on your test. Or you're welcome to drop off and work on your test separately. But if you have questions, come back on. I'm going to keep this on for the duration of the class period in case you or anyone else needs to come on and ask any questions. But today is test day. So I'm going to mute myself here and pause the recording here. But I'll let you get to work on your test. So apparently, despite my intention not to have an issue with this, last spring, my first test was the one that required a proctor or validation. I've decided to make that the final exam. And so last spring, I had this thing set up where the first one was password protected, and I forgot to change it. So this is me. If you've tried to log into the test and take it and you don't have the password, that's because it wasn't supposed to be password protected. But I am going to pop in here and unlock it. So for those of you who tried to take it prior to this, I'm sorry, I apologize. You'll have to take it on your own at or after now. And if you run into something like that that surprises you, that's a good time for you to call or text me. Last night, 7:30 to 8:30, I was on for student hours. So you could have dropped in then and asked the question, hey, was this thing supposed to be password protected? What's the password for the test that I'm trying to take? I screwed up. So that is what it is. So let me pop on here real quick and fix that. This thing telling me class is about to start. Go figure. But I will get this thing unlocked so that it is not password protected. Assignment manager. A little inside baseball for you guys. You guys get to see how this stuff works. So here's your test. And I just go with that. Let me edit this thing. All right, and then password protection is over here. There we go. Fixed. All right. So assign. All right. So for those of you who were trying to log into the test and it was asking you for a password and you're trying to get your password, you should not need it now. So thank you for joining me. I apologize for my my error. I left that password protection in there. Final exam. In fact, while I'm at it, let me make sure that finally, welcome, come ahead. Oh, your time, not mine. While I'm at it, let me make sure that the password is set up for that. And y'all don't need to get to see the password for that. Do you need to, I don't know if I password protected it or not. Okay. All right, so we now have a password locking out the final exam, so that way I can make sure that proctors get that. Okay. Any other questions from the floor? I'm going to do attendance here shortly, so I can do that. But Switch to, that's there. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna let you guys work on your tests again. I'm gonna pause this thing. And actually, let me do attendance here while I'm recording. That way I've just got a copy of what I'm doing. And go on Web Advisor and do attendance just for who's here. For those of you who aren't physically here, I encourage you to get your test done before Tuesday's class and to start working on Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is going to be challenging. It's going to be a level of proof, a level of algebra with trig functions that you're not quite used to. A lot of this trig stuff is new to you. So the sooner you get into it and start working it, the better. But obviously, I would not start working it till you complete your test. So in here and do attendance for those that are either online or physically here. And the rest of you home gamers, try not to fall behind. Probably this weekend, probably on Sunday, anyone who hasn't taken the test at that point, I'll probably enter a 0. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, why do I have a 0? If you haven't taken the test, it is scheduled for now. After this point, I'm posting the 0. That way it'll update your Moodle grades. Once you take the test, it'll replace your 0 with a higher score. So, the way these things work, if I don't do that, it doesn't give a valid. The students who start to fall behind who don't get 0s, well, I didn't know I was behind. Yeah, you didn't. Anyway, you're welcome to go ahead and start work on your test if you don't have any questions. Did you? I do. Grab some right out of that printer. Actually, it's probably the easiest way to go. All right, so Clarissa is here. I don't think I've seen Jalissa. Maria's online. Austin said he had a doctor's appointment. He's not going to be here. Faith is not here. Cheyenne is here. Kiara is not, and Jacob. So we've got 3 online, 1 in person. That's everybody. All right. So, and those of you again who, all right. For my online people, just to remind you, I'm going to keep the Zoom open. You may choose to either stay online if you have questions and ask them that way, or not. If you want to drop off, I'm going to keep the Zoom open. You can come right back on if you need to, whichever works best for you. Sometimes using up computer resources for Zoom can start to be taxing on your internet, things like that. But I'm going to pause this now and mute myself again. And if you see me moving my lips and you asked a question and you're not hearing me, remind me like you just did that, hey, you're muted, Mr. Miller, because I very rarely mute myself, but I don't need to accidentally distract you guys while you're taking a test. All right, I'm gonna pause the recording. Welcome, Jaden. I know you're dropping in a little late, probably had some homeroom or other things to take care of this morning. I'm keeping the Zoom open for everyone who's taking tests, who wants to ask. Some other folks were on earlier. They've dropped off. They're working on their tests. You're welcome to either stay online and if you have questions, or you can drop off. I'm going to put you in for being in attendance. I already just took attendance, but I'll update that. You're welcome to stay online, or you're welcome to drop offline. If you have questions, come back on. I'm going to keep the Zoom open for the remainder of the class period in case you have questions, but get your chapter 5 test done. And then after that, I encourage you to try to start making progress in chapter 6, because again, a lot of this stuff is going to feel new. It's going to feel challenging. And this is a pre-calculus course. Your facility with trig identities and the stuff that you see in chapter 6 really is one of the key aspects that you want to start getting comfortable with. You don't want the first time you're really having to do that level of manipulation with trig functions to be in a calculus course. It will not go well for you. So get some practice in here. Chapter 6 is not the most practical application heavy chapter. It's not the kind of thing you use to solve practical problems. That's chapter 5 and chapter 7. But it's the kind of thing that really, really will help you succeed in higher level math. Trig functions and identities are one of the main tools, and just the concepts associated with them. And also the ideas, proof that we start to bring in, the idea of use of identities and the like. All right, I'm going to mute myself and update attendance and everything, and I'll let you get to work unless you have questions.